Show. That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks, to I think Notre Dame's due for a recruiting bump edition of the Always Irish Show. As always, thanks for being here. You can find the program on YouTube. Do hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Get a video a thumbs up. That helps Johnny out as well. Notifications on that way you don't miss nothing. Twitter, search bar Always Irish or at Always Irish. Emails alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want it. You can get it. Call-in lines. 312-988-15. Dial it up. Tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Notre Dame Fighting Irish brought to you by SI. Read all about it. Patreon.com/alwaysirish. Former captain, leading tackler, me and Mike Goolsby breaking it all down. All right. It's a weird time we're in. Talked about this on the morning show. Everybody was wound so tight all through the regular season. And it ramps up more all through the postseason and the playoff run. Then everybody needed an emotional break, the come down of that, to be able to get your nerves back together and just kind of put yourself back together after all that. I needed that time. Couple weeks go by and we're all ready for football again. I know I am. I'm ready for it again. In this downtime, it's just got me thinking. Now that my mind's more clear and we're past the Ohio State stuff and all that, I'm thinking, how do we get over the hump? And I'm in a clear spot to think about that now, about a month out, than I was in the middle of it all and in the immediate aftermath of the Ohio State loss. How does Notre Dame get over the hump? One good thing is you've proven a lot already as far as anybody saying Notre Dame doesn't have enough talent, isn't deep enough, isn't good enough to make a deep playoff run, like whatever, they can make it, but they don't have the depth or whatever. As banged up as this team was, to do what they did in this playoff already tells you Notre Dame's closer to the finish line than a lot of people thought they were. Even including a bunch of Notre Dame people. Closer than you thought. That is great. And this run was good. And the year 3, big year for Freeman, big year 3 historically for Notre Dame coaches, what that's meant, whatever. You proved a lot and succeeded a lot in that dynamic. That's good. Here's the thing, though. For all of the good and all of the bars that were cleared and all the stuff you accomplished, there's still a lot of meat left on the Notre Dame recruiting bone. Notre Dame has not been recruiting in the Freeman era nearly as good as I think they can recruit in the Freeman era. So that's good and bad. It's good because you accomplished a lot and made it to the final 2. And I'm still saying there's a lot of room on this roster to get way better. It's bad because I don't think you're recruiting quite as good as I thought you would under Marcus Freeman. So there's realistic room to get better, and that's good. It's just a little frustrating that we all thought one of Freeman's very best attributes is all the recruiting and all that stuff. It's just, I thought it'd be a little better, to be honest. Now you got the new GM coming in here. It's going to be more of an NFL-style build-out, an NFL thinking way of building a roster, all that kind of stuff. And you've been sitting where? 12, 13 in the recruiting, like outside the top 10? 12, 13, somewhere in there. How do you get down to 6, 7, 8, 9? I don't know if it's possible for Notre Dame to recruit inside the top 5, just the way Notre Dame's built and the way everybody else is doing it. I don't think it's going to take a number 3 class to get Notre Dame over the hump. But how do you get this to where it's in that top 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that region? Again, we're going to cover something good and bad. The good news is for periods of time in each of Notre Dame's recruiting classes under Freeman. You've been in position to land that kind of recruiting class. But what happened? You lost your top guys out of those classes, and that's how they drop out of the top 10. Bowen, Keeley, Deuce, the kid that left and went to Michigan, the secondary guy. So again, there's good and bad here. The good is you were already in position to get in this position I want you to get. The bad news is you fell off late, couldn't maintain those guys. So that's going to be something Freeman's got to figure out. And it's got to be something this new GM is keenly aware of. What do you need to do to not lose those top guys? It is nearly impossible to maintain recruiting momentum when you're losing the top guy out of your class. I'm sorry. It just is. It's almost impossible to maintain momentum in that dynamic. It's not only just losing that kid or kids off the top 2 kids of your class, highest rated, but it's also just the gut punch and loss of momentum for the whole operation when you lose your top guys. There's no way around it. So Freeman's got to address this. Is there structural stuff you change when you're offering guys, when you're accepting their commitment? I don't know what there is, but there's got to be something you could do because you can't operate this way. And so this new GM, and it's going to be interesting to see. They say they want a more NFL style model of how to do all this. How does that blend with high school recruiting? There's a lot to figure out there. And so you're not that far away, because if you just hold on to your guys, I think you're right where we want you to be. Easier said than done, I guess, right? And so here's something else I think about. Is it wrong of me to think Notre Dame should be getting a bump from riding out the CFP to the final 2 games? Is there no top-end guys that are like, man, Notre Dame's got a modern, hip, young coach. They look fun and cool, and they made it to the final 2 games. Maybe I'm going to take a trip to Notre Dame. Maybe find a way to get some attention from some guys that normally wouldn't, but they saw Freeman and how fun this run was. Is that wild to think? I mean, if you can't get a bump in recruiting off the run Notre Dame just had, how can you? Exciting last-minute wins, beating the crap out of Georgia on the big stage, making it till the end. If that doesn't help you naturally, I don't know what does. So I don't think it's going to take much to get you there. I'm looking at a couple more 4 to 5 star rated guys on each side of the ball. Is that impossible? I think that's all it's going to take. Give me 3 more 4-star, borderline 5-star guy. It shouldn't be that much to ask. Maybe it is. So I don't think this is a monumental task, you got to change everything about Notre Dame recruiting and start all over. If you could find a way to attract and hold on to just a few more guys a cycle, it'd go a long way. Here's the other part of this. I'm going to agree with Goolsby on this. Whenever this discussion comes up and we talk about evaluating or how does Notre Dame improve that recruiting, what's going to take to beat an Ohio State, not Florida State, anybody can do that. Ohio State, Goolsby always says, staff's doing a really good job identifying some defensive guys underrated, or get, Bryce Young, get him in there and they start KVA. You got to do that on the offensive side of the ball. You got to find a couple more skill guys that can make that a reality for you offensively. A Jeremiah Love type, but 2 of them at receiver. You need more of those skill guys on the offensive side. Goolsby always brings that up. So I just think you're in a dynamic where you're not that far away, but you got to figure out a way to lock up the top end of these classes, gain interest from maybe a handful more guys now that you made a playoff run, lock them up, and get those classes inside that top 10, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. And I think it'd make all the difference. I don't think you're that far away. But I do think it's going to take a couple more flash guys on each side of the ball, especially on offense. So I want to know what you guys think about this dynamic. I don't feel like Notre Dame's that far away. I'm happy that I'm not saying we have maxed out recruiting under Marcus Freeman in this program. This is as good as it's going to get. You got to just like deal with that. No, there's a lot of upside here. There is a lot of room for Notre Dame's recruiting operation to grow. And I'm excited to see with this new GM what you may be looking at. You get a couple more guys in there, bang, bang, you're off to the races. Let's go. Don't forget to check out the merchandise. The link is in the description. You can browse and carouse all the different Always Irish gear. Make sure you head over there and get something for the next tailgate. Thanks for being here.